Well, hello, welcome everyone. I'm Nancy Stevens with my co-host David McLeod, and we are soul empowerment, such needed soul food right now. And today's topic is one that we discussed, kind of bounced it around. Gratitude, the art of being gratitude. What is it? It just resonated with us as being something really needed right now, and just something that I feel is a beautiful reflection on all of this year has come out to play, that all of this lands in the beautiful basket of gratitude. So I can't think of a better way to complete the year in the month of December than with a wholehearted unpacking of gratitude and all of the aspects of it. I'm always learning, and David is quite the expert on personal development and human emotionality. So join us today, whether you're listening now or you come and hear us later. Join us for this lively conversation meant to expand your horizon, to maybe reframe your perspective, and just to open you up of new ways of what it means to be grateful, to work in the area of gratitude. And we're so thankful that you're here, whether you're live with us right now or you have joined us for the recorded version. Take it away.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Nancy. I could really feel your heart, and I always enjoy that. Yeah, so my name is David McLeod. I'm a life mastery coach, and I do a lot of work, as Nancy suggested, in the personal growth area, coaching people, doing a lot of online trainings and that sort of thing. And gratitude is one of those topics that I think is extremely important, probably one of the most important topics that we can deal with. And so that's why we decided to call this episode "Grateful to the Core."
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really what it means. It means not just, saying thank you for something, but feeling that sense of gratitude for as much as possible in the world. Everything that happens in the world, everything that happens in your life, everything that goes on, even those things that in your mind you might be thinking, not so much. I'm not so happy about that. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to get this going. So Nancy, I mean, when you think about gratitude, what kind of words come to your mind?
I would say what comes to my mind as I am today is that one of appreciative acceptance of being, appreciative acceptance. Initially, I had when I was learning about gratitude, it was, what is around you externally, or what has occurred to you that you can be thankful for, and that's not wrong, but that's a good segue into really moving and breathing in the fabric of what it is. And I guess through the course of this year in my life, it is, again, having that appreciation, that acceptance of things that may not, quote, feel good or look good, but have just as much ownership for us to be grateful for. So I'll share a little bit later. My husband and I had a really unique conversation yesterday about what it meant to really appreciate and bring in.
Well, why wait? Share with us now.
Okay. Well, as we were in my favorite place of all. We were in Sedona, and I just love the energy and the just the appreciation, the beauty found there. I always tell, whenever I go there, I'm like, I've never come across somebody that appears to be really mean or mean-spirited. Everyone we meet is always happy. Maybe because you go there as a destination, or you just feel invited into the fold of creation. So we were having this conversation about people maybe taking advantage of or putting their name on work. And, I said, well.
You mean like plagiarism as an example?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. He works in the music. He works in a competitive industry, and he does a lot of work. Some of that work gets passed on, and some of the upper level people will just instead of saying, hey, I want to thank, Chris for doing this work, they'll just put their name on it. And maybe he said, it's not that it's right or wrong, but it's just become a standard of you're a cog in the wheel and we're going to take it from here. And I said, well, that's fine. I said, but also a way to show, a way to be grateful for the work you got to do is also to gratefully share rather than withholding what we talked about, rather than withholding all of this stuff and letting it build up and burst or volcano. How about share it in a way that's non-quote confrontational? Because I said, why is it that you don't want to simply share what you've seen? Well, I don't like confrontation. I don't like the energy of that. And I said, that's great. How about change that energy of confrontation into maybe more thoughtfully and mindfully sharing what it is you are seeing and involved in. That is a way of learning to be thankful and grateful for your voice, for your ability to do that. So we really kind of played with that back and forth, and I could feel the different change in his energy rather than sharing as a means that was confrontation. It's like, oh, I'm maybe withholding is actually has a lot more negative impact than sharing.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
yeah.
I like that. You're able to what's the word I'm looking for here? Reframe something in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of important, and I think that's something that when we have reached a certain level of consciousness, it becomes easier and easier and easier to do that. That's what I have noticed in my life. I mean, when I was still stuck in my pretty expansive ego mind for many years, and I really wasn't a very happy person.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was able to understand what was going on in my psyche and to begin taming my ego mind and start allowing my soul to come through, where I was able to become more, as you said, appreciative and accepting of what's going on. Back in the older days, when I was still stuck in that place, I could externalize and blame and shame everything and everyone around me for all the bad things that were happening. Now, because of the work I have done, I can see how I have contributed to that, how I have somehow attracted that into my life, and I have created that as a way for me to experience some aspect of myself. And when I see it that way, all of a sudden I can appreciate it more. And I can recognize, oh, now I get it. I am doing things in order to fully understand the truth of who I really am. That's what's going on here. So when something bad happens, my opportunity is, I can get reactive and I can get all upset and I can, rage and scream and do all those things that seems to be so common these days.
Yeah.
Or I can pause and reflect and say, how did I invite this into my life? And what is its purpose for me right now? I can do that. When I do that much reflection, if I just ask myself that very simple question, all of a sudden I can immediately start moving into appreciation, and then I can start feeling that gratitude filling up. Yeah, I can see how this is going to serve me to become more expressive of my truth and less confrontational, let's say, just to choose your example.
That is so fascinating. Like I think with all the things that we discuss on our soul empowerment show, they're all, so I'll point out to our listeners, none of this is a one and done, or you begin to educate yourself on the concept of gratitude or kindness or being in a relationship, and there you go, you should have it. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, the fabric of who we are needs to be gently opened, plied opened, or brought different things to come in order for this energy of awareness and love to move in. And so what you shared with me, seeing when you feel yourself become agitated or activated or triggered, such as, that happens to me daily. Whereas before I would have the door of gratitude would have been closed and locked because, gee, what do you mean? There's nothing in this moment that's good. What are you talking about? Look what,
Exactly. Yeah.
Look what happened. We're in a pandemic. We're things are never going to be the same. What do you mean gratitude? Well, it's like because I'm alive, and my body and mind are working. They're working at capacity. I have the privilege and the ability, even if I don't like where I'm at, may not like the circumstances in my life, I have the ability, like you said, to pause and to sit with my stuff. Learning gratitude has opened that up. That I'm grateful that I have thoughts, feelings, emotions that are in my core that can be used as a cushion, so to speak, to explore the shadows, really.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of what you're saying. First of all, I think our ego mind says, well, if it's not good, then why should I be grateful for it?
Yeah.
That's kind of the reactionary response that we tend to have.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, who decided it was good or bad in the first place? Well, that was the same energy that did that. It was the ego mind said, oh, that's good, that's bad. That's good, that's bad. That's what the ego mind does, is it divides things into these false dichotomies. In reality, I don't think there's anything that's either good or bad, because there's just what is. I mean, this is it. This is what's happening. Yeah, I have all my judgments about it, and I recognize that those judgments come up. But if I can release those judgments, then I may be able to see what's happening in a whole different light. And I may be able to say, how can I infuse this situation with love and gratitude? How can I be present to it, be fully aware of it, and be fully accepting of it without judgment? Is it possible for me to do that? And when we can, like I say, I love asking questions. I mean, I'm constantly asking questions.
Yeah.
I find questions are the best way to, find the truth, as long as they're not why questions. I find why questions tend to put me in a state of defensiveness. If you ask me, well, why did you blah? Well, then I immediately go into a defensive state saying, well, I had to do such and such because I was, all of a sudden the ego mind gets involved. But if I keep why out of there and say something like, what is the purpose of this? Or how is this serving you? I'm doing a slightly different approach. I'm saying, how did you invite this into your life and for what purpose?
So you're saying maybe asking questions that don't begin with why, that are a means of going to a deeper depth.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I find that, well, I any question that begins with what or how tends to be a more useful question. Now, that's not always true. I mean, you can still ask bad questions starting with what and how. I think if you just ask the question in a way to be curious without being, what's the word I'm looking for here? Let's say that you were telling me something about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't fully understand it. I might ask a deeper question. So how is that affecting the way you show up in your life? Or how is that impacting your relationship with your husband? Or how is that blah, blah, blah? You see, the question is going to be related to the scenario, but my idea is to be curious, not for myself, but for you. I mean, I don't need to know all the nitty gritty little details about what was going. Well, what did he say? Come on, tell me, give me all the grit.
Yeah.
That's not of any relevance. I mean, if you choose to share it on your own because it's something important to you, that's one thing. But if I'm digging for that, that's not curiosity anymore. That's something else. That's like my ego mind really wants to know the dirty details. We're getting into gossip mode at that point.
Yeah.
So good questions come from a heart space with the intention of helping the other person or helping myself to gain clarity. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and then I appreciate that, and then that is what I think how you your intention behind asking and how the words that you choose to ask I think that opens up bigger playing ground for the asker and the askee to move into
The
a place.
ASCII.
The askee.
I like that.
You love it. From being gently invited to move from withhold space, from thinking, oh, I'm not going to share that because they didn't ask, or I don't feel comfortable, or it's going to cause that's a beautiful facet of opening up into creating and teaching gratitude by, if you have those skills and you're in a conversation, or you're feeling something, the words that you choose to ask invite the askee to take a deeper step and not feel defensive or being judged, or the ego is removed with the choice of wording instead of like why, which that I don't know what it is about that word, but when I guess for me as a child, like, why did you do that? It's like you're already being accused. So right. That drives it in. Yeah. But saying, what were you thinking when you did that? Oh, well, I was thinking that, I felt really uncomfortable, or I felt defeated. So I went ahead and da-da-da. And it can be a learning opportunity and a growth opportunity. And it already, just by asking that, sparks gratitude. I'm thankful I didn't feel judged when you said that I had a moment. I learned something really cool. So
yeah. And so, you've mentioned the word withhold here a few times. And yeah. I think that's an important concept that maybe people don't fully understand when we talk about withholds. But the way I describe it, let's say something happens in a relationship, usually withholds are tied to a relationship, some kind of a relationship, whether it's a primary relationship or a work relationship or a parent-child relationship, it doesn't matter. It's some kind of a relationship between two people where one person does something and the other person has a trigger reaction to it. But the second person, the person who's reacting, looks at the situation and says, oh, this is trivial. What am I getting so upset about? I'm not going to say anything about this. Mm-hmm. Right? You downplay it in your own mind. You try to convince yourself of this is not important. I am just being petty, or I'm being silly, or whatever. So, I don't want to create conflict, so I'm not going to say anything. Right? And then the next day, or maybe later in the same day, that other person, excuse me, does something else that flips another trigger. Maybe it's even the same trigger. Who knows? But it irritates you in some way, and you go through that same routine all over again. Well, each time you do that, each time you say to yourself, no, that's not important. I'm not going to say anything. Even though it may have been a minor boundary violation or something like that. Every time you do that, what you're doing is you're essentially putting a little invisible brick between yourself and the other person. And as time passes, the more of these withholds that you refuse to share, the more bricks you're building up. So eventually there's an energetic divide between you. And so what happens is, sooner or later, the other person is going to feel that divide. But if they don't, what's going to happen is a minor event is going to happen, and you're just going to fall off the rails. You're going to explode. The other person's going to say, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, what?
They don't realize that your energy was building up from all these previous little withholds. They think it's just you overreacting because of this one thing.
Yeah.
Now, how many times have we done that in our lives?
So many. I almost feel like we have to untrain and unlearn this energy of not speaking up because we feel uncomfortable, or we quote don't like conflict, or we're assuming that some bad fallout's going to happen if we actually share the truth. And again, it's how you share that truth, your word choice, of course, but there's this aspect that we're talking about. You kind of brought it up initially, but it is a real big aspect of grateful to the core, that if we can learn to be so comfortable with who we are, because that's one of the aspects of gratitude, right? That we can then be in more grateful, open up to being, sharing those withholds or not letting things build up. And then, seemingly this event triggered it. You even hear that on the news. Well, so-and-so was triggered because, whatever. It's like, well, it could have had a lifetime of that person feeling, marginalized or unheard or not wanting to speak up. And then, it appeared that this one event did it. But that's, that more that you bring that up, I'm sure it's not the case, but how important that, I guess this brings home how important it is for all of us to do the work of developing gratitude, not just saying, oh yeah, I'm sure I'm happy, I'm able to see the good, but to actually bring this in as part of the fabric of our life, almost as important as drinking water or tending to our physical needs, is this emotional attribute or asset of learning the aspect and bringing gratitude in. I do admit I didn't realize how important this was years ago. I just was again like, oh, if there's something good for me to say, of course I'm going to be happy for, this event or that. But then the rest of the time felt like I was looking for things to go wrong. That for somehow that was proving my, I don't know, ability to be real, which that's a pretty heavy energy to try to live in every day. Yeah.
Right. Well, the idea of withholding stuff. I mean, first of all, we are taught from a very young age, be a good boy, be a good girl, be nice to all your friends. And we soon learn that there are certain ways that are considered acceptable niceness and certain ways that are considered unacceptable niceness, or similarly, being a good boy or being a good girl. So we are indoctrinated into this belief system right from the moment we are born. So consequently, we are subconsciously given the message that it's not okay to say things that you're not happy about, because a nice person wouldn't do that. A good person wouldn't do that.
Yeah, you're not being grateful.
That's right. You're being selfish. You're being whatever. This is the problem. So we've all learned that. We've all had to deal with that kind of lesson for years. I mean,
that is so true. Like, I remember in school. Well, what do you mean? Why would you share that? Why are you sharing that? That's not nice. You're sharing but maybe that person, okay, maybe their learning would be how are you sharing that? Are you sharing that from a place of fear or anger, or can you share that withhold in a different way? Yeah. But that is so fascinating. Yeah, we were told to, don't speak until in school, raise your hand. Like, we don't want everybody blurting out. Say what's one thing you're thankful for today, or which is good, but it was there's a whole different energy.
I'm having a bit of a problem with sunlight here. I'm going to make an adjustment that I hope will solve this problem. So I'm just going to push this table back. I can figure out how to do it.
I'm grateful that you can adjust your table light there.
Now get that so it's out of the. Oh boy, I'm going to knock over some chairs. Now, if I do that, whoops, that's still not enough, is it?
Well, I'm grateful that you've got a lot of sunlight today.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. Okay, so let me try this one more time. Oop, that one's going to fall over. I got these 3 chairs on the opposite side.
This moment is brought to you by gratitude, that we are grateful for the sun, that we have the ability to move that table.
Yep. I'm sliding on the floor here. All right, now that's better. You see, the sun is now over here. It's still okay.
Oh my goodness!
I love the sun, and right now it's kind of distracting and making the image a lot harder to see. So yeah, the idea is that sharing a withhold is not about trying to make the other person wrong in any way, shape, or form. Sharing a withhold is about speaking truth about myself. So when I approach you, for example, and I say, Nancy, I have a withhold I'd like to share with you. Are you open to hearing it? That's how I start the conversation.
That's beautiful.
Now you can say yes, or you can say no. Or you can say something like, I am interested in hearing what you have to say because I care about you. and I'm busy right now. Can I get back to you in 10 minutes or whatever? So in other words, you create the space for the withhold to be shared.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's important for me, once we engage, and you've agreed to this, that I share the withhold from my own perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I may talk about something that you factually did, and then I can talk about my reaction to it. Okay, but my reaction has nothing to do with you. My objective is not to try and change you. It's not to try and do anything like that. If I'm coming from that place, then I'm not being an authentic human being.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing for me to remember. So when I come to you with a withhold that I want to share with you, my purpose is to just express what I'm feeling, express my reaction, tell you a little bit about the story I made up about it, and then to just simply release it. Now, you do not have to respond at all. So let me give you a simple example.
Mm-hmm.
While we were doing the show today, you had to adjust the table in your house because there was too much sunlight. And I found that distracting. I noticed I had a panic reaction. I had this thought, oh my God, the show is going down the toilet. I said, this is nothing about you. This is my reaction. I just want you to be aware that I had that reaction, and I don't want this to cause any distance between us. I just want to share that and release it, and just leave it at that. You can say all that you really have to say, and I recommend this, is say, well, thank you for sharing that. That's it. And if you choose to have a response after that, you may. But all you're required to do in order to complete the process is to say, oh, well, thank you so much for sharing that, and try to come from an authentic place. And notice when you say thank you, you're actually moving into a place of gratitude.
Mm. That's beautiful. So I guess, would there need to be some type of a understanding that, as you seek permission to share your withhold, that the person you're sharing it with maybe would be enlightened that, you would let them know that we don't need to have a major dialogue. We can, but I just want to share with you, and you don't need to. This is not about you. If you'd like to, you can say thank you for sharing. Like, you don't need to come up with get on your soapbox and use this as a means to defend yourself or justify your excuse. I think sometimes we're trained, I guess I am, that when somebody offers constructive feedback, or some of it called constructive criticism, which that's kind of an oxymoron. I know.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's the old way, back in the day when it didn't work. But we're going to give you some constructive criticism, which I understand the concept, but constructive feedback, or but maybe we're trained to think that, okay, now I need to, if somebody's telling me things about myself, granted they're meant for me to learn and grow, but if I'm immediately starting to go inward and feel that I'm being judged and need to defend myself, maybe we need to retrain ourselves that no, it's good. You don't need to do anything with this information other than to acknowledge that you heard it, and then maybe later on you can go beneath the surface of it and do some learning. Use it as a means to learn. Don't see it as I'm less than, or I'm being attacked, or I'm being judged, or gee, all of a sudden, I think that's another shift that some of us need. I think for me, that would have been very helpful when I got feedback, instead of retreating like, oh my gosh, I'm such a failure, to say, oh, wait a minute, the feedback is a means for me to have things illuminated within me that I can take and grow and learn. And then I have that experience to share with people in my life. So
this is very, very good stuff. And I'm glad you mentioned feedback. The withhold generally, so I want to make the distinction between feedback and a withhold.
Yeah.
They're both related. Okay. And if I'm feeling a charge, some kind of uncomfortable energy in my body, it's definitely elevated to the level of a withhold. It's no longer just neutral feedback.
Okay.
That's the distinction I make. Now, if I want to simply offer you some feedback, let's say you did a speech on stage or something like that, and I wanted to offer you some feedback, I would approach you in a very similar way. I would say, Nancy, I watched your speech today, and I have a little bit of feedback. Are you open to hearing it? I want to give you the option to say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, just as the withhold is about me, so too is every little bit of feedback that I give you. That's about me. You know, I might have seen you, I don't know, maybe you wave your hands around a lot when you speak. I don't know. I do that. That's
Mm-hmm.
personally my way of, you've probably seen me on this show. I do it a lot.
Yeah.
It's the way I express myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I tell you, I noticed that your hands were moving a lot, and that leads me to wonder if maybe you're a little nervous when you're speaking, and I'm wondering if it might help you to bring your hands down to your side or something. Just try that to see if it'll reduce your nervousness. Now you say, you don't have to answer any questions, by the way. You say, thank you for that feedback. I have heard that before. I appreciate your bringing that to my attention, and I will give it some thought. And just leave it at that. That's it. We're done. You may look at that and say, yeah, I like moving my hands around. That's the way I am. And the feedback that I gave you, that was about me.
Yeah.
This is something that people forget about. You know, when I'm sharing anything with you, it's about me. Sorry. Even if I'm trying to pretend it's about you, it's really about me. This is a very, very important thing for us to understand. So,
that is, yeah.
Yeah, so and that distinguishes between feedback and withhold. So remember, like I said, the withhold, I've got some energy in my body. I feel like there's, maybe I'm feeling angry about something. You know, maybe I feel afraid because of something that you did. I don't know, whatever it is. There's a charge in there, and it's not comfortable for me. When it reaches that level, it's no longer feedback. It is now a withhold. That's the difference. And now you mentioned earlier about, is it necessary for the other person to have some enlightenment about what this all means? And I personally think in any relationship, I try to do this in all my relationships, have some kind of an agreement with the people in the relationship that this sort of thing is welcome and it's encouraged, because it overall tends to reduce conflict. And it makes the whole relationship easier to deal with. So if you want your husband and your kids to learn this process, teach them how it goes when nobody's charged up. You know, I offer my withhold. You listen, you say thank you, and that's it. We're done.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, I guess, yeah, this is for all of you listening, this is an unexplored but really important component of gratitude, right? Not only looking for the supposedly easy things to be thankful for or grateful for, you know, the externals. I mean, you also have stuff within, but working on being grateful for your ability to share withholds or feedback in a way, with the emotional energy of not needing to be the doomsdayer or the judge or whatever, but with the loving energy that this is meant to illuminate and increase your relationships.
Yeah.
That's another, that is, and it is learned. It isn't like, oh, well, you're just more calm and easygoing, and that good speech comes to you or whatever, of course. But I get stuck on my words. I don't know what to say. I stick my foot in my mouth. I won't do that. I won't speak up. But as we learn how to speak up, we become more open and bring in this energy that really is one of the attributes of gratitude. I know this is so fascinating. So to get to that,
we're not really done on this topic. I don't want to change topics yet.
Yeah.
This is a really, really important topic, and it has to do with not only with gratitude, but with what I call sublime superior relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships that are really meant to support all participants to the maximum extent possible. So, and you mentioned something about sometimes I get a little stuck on my words or whatever. Great, no problem. If you have a withhold, let's say you had a withhold with me, you could approach me and say, David, I have a withhold I would like to share. Are you open to hearing it? And I'll say, sure. And you can start by saying, look, please be patient with me. I have challenge with, sometimes finding the right words.
Yeah.
Just give me the space and the time to say what I need to say and get my agreement. Now I'm prepared. If I see you struggling a little bit, I'm not going to jump in and try and fix anything. I'm just going to pay attention. And that, I believe, will help you to not trip over your words.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm processing about what we unpacked here with this other area of opening up into grateful to the core.
Yeah. Well, so we talked about feedback, we've talked about withholds, but there's a third item.
Mm-hmm.
And those are appreciations. Well, this is something that I've found that we humans tend to be really good at pointing out the things that we don't like.
Mm-hmm.
But more often than not, if you think about it, there really aren't that many things that we don't like. It's a pretty small number compared to the things that we're okay with. And yet, how often do we say thank you, or I'm grateful, or I appreciate the small things? Hardly at all. So if you're going to have an agreement in your relationship to share withholds and feedback in this manner, then you ought to include appreciations in the mix. Not necessarily at the same time. I wouldn't necessarily approach you and say, I have a withhold. Oh, and now I have to finish up with an appreciation. No, that's not the objective. The objective for me is to think about something that I really appreciate about you, at least one, maybe two or three things, whatever. And throughout the day, just come by and say, hey, Nancy, I have an appreciation. Would you like to hear it? Now, it's pretty unusual that you're going to say no, but you can say no if you wish. And then I'll just go through the same thing. I'll say, I noticed that you did something normally quite trivial. You made this amazing dinner tonight. And I wanted just to tell you that I appreciate all the energy and the effort that you put into that, and the love that you brought to make it such a delicious meal for all of us. And I really enjoyed, sitting down and having dinner with you. Now, how do you feel when you hear that?
Well, it opens up a glow of it bringing in your energy or the energy of the person sharing it. And then it opens up my perspective to say, wow, I did something that got, not that I'm looking, but, oh, I got recognized or noticed, or it just kind of sends a little message that, oh, I matter. Appreciations for me are easier to give based on in my upbringing. It was like, oh, well, always, compliment others, or, find something good. And again, that's not like you went out of your way, but it's easier for me to extend this from me than the withholds, but they're both holding hand. The withholds hold hands with appreciation, and they all flourish the other. I know that when we got home from our trip last night, our son, I didn't say anything to him. We have a teenager, and we went out of town for the weekend. So he had some fun with his friends, but I knew leaving that he's responsible and caring. And so I didn't say a thing. When we got back in, he was so proud of himself. He had completely cleaned the entire home. He had lit candles. He had music on. Like, he went out of his way, and he was so happy that I couldn't help but to say, oh my gosh, son, this is just amazing. Wow, thank you for doing this. I know you put a lot of thought and effort in it. Just, that gift, that me sharing my appreciation probably gave him a gift of being able, maybe when good things come to him, to share.
Right. When he knows that you see it, he knows you appreciate it, he'd be inclined to do more of it. And this is something that we fail to recognize, most of us, because most of us are still caught up in our ego minds, like I said. And the ego mind loves to criticize, complain, and judge, and all the rest of it. So if we can elevate ourselves out of that place
Mhm.
where quiet the ego mind and get back to our soul. I mean, who doesn't like to be seen? Everybody wants to be seen.
Yeah.
That's how we know we're here. That's how we know we have made a tiny little impact somewhere in the world. Just the very fact that someone acknowledges our presence. So just
Mhm.
imagine not merely saying I see you, but following up with an appreciation about what I see that makes me feel good. That is powerful. And it
That,
doesn't have to be a huge deal. I mean, your son obviously went way over
yeah.
beyond the call of duty to do that because he loves you and he cares about you and he wanted to demonstrate that. And that's beautiful. But maybe tomorrow, the best you're going to get out of him is that he'll pick up his socks off the floor.
Yeah.
And so if you take the moment and just tell him, I know you got a lot of stuff going on in your life and you all these crazy things that teenagers have to deal with. But I just want you to know I appreciate the fact that you picked your socks up and you put them in the laundry basket because that just makes less work for me. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah. It's validating.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. So that's beautiful that sharing appreciations with others is a gratitude practice, right?
Yeah.
It's, I guess the old fashioned word would be giving a compliment, complimenting, recognizing, acknowledging, and complimenting. But really, that's gratitude.
Right. In a sense, it is. But often we have to be careful because sometimes these compliments can be um, rather shallow.
Mhm.
What I find most uh, touching, you can tell me I look good because I'm wearing a nice suit, or you like the color of my glasses or something. I mean, that's boring. I don't care. Well, I'll say thank you, but it's really not a very useful compliment. When you say something like, I really appreciated how you dealt with my son. Now we're getting down to some heart stuff.
Yeah.
That's what touches me. That I'll pay attention to, and I'll say, "Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that yeah, I'm glad. It was my honor to do it." You know?
More intimate, more personable and relatable,
Yes,
specific
yes, yes.
to that person.
Right.
Yeah.
This is powerful stuff, Nancy. I mean, we're talking about probably some of the most powerful stuff available.
Yeah.
If life without relationship is not much of life at all. Bless you. Bless you. Life without relationship isn't really life at all. So if we don't do things to make our relationships as vibrant and as alive as possible, then we're shortchanging ourselves and we're shortchanging the people that we live with.
And we are limiting, I guess, yeah, and that goes without into the territory of how can we work on and deepen gratitude or a relationship with it if we're living at the surface, if we're ignoring or not, not knowing how to step up to the plate to share the withholds and appreciations, that creates a logjam that interferes with our ability to truly move into gratitude. Because there is a lot, you see so much, practice gratitude, have a gratitude jar, gratitude journal, but we don't. Yeah. So I'm just kind of thinking out loud. With that, it's the deepening of our human connection to those in our circle that allow that ease of practicing being a gratitude practitioner, right? It has to start so that would be the ground zero. If somebody was really like, boy, I want to be more grateful, but everything seems to happen in the wrong place at the right time. I don't have anything to be grateful for.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I would be grateful if I could. I get tired of saying that I woke up every day, but
so they have this mindset of when this happens, I'll be grateful.
Yeah.
And of course, whatever this is never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. I can find fault. I mean, if that were my deal, of course I could find something to complain about or find fault with every day. All I have to do is turn the news on if I need that, or look at the weather. Oh, I'm going to validate how I feel by the weather. Of course, we can do all of that. Or oh, I didn't get the I didn't get the raise. I didn't get the job. I didn't my whatever my da da da. But it's like, okay, but what is my role in facilitating this opening up of gratitude as a key element in my life? That,
Right.
I think, our conversation today, that's what you've helped to illuminate, and what we're unpacking is it really does begin with our relationships that kind of coexist,
Right.
ourselves and others. Wow.
And relationships, if you want to think about it, they can't exist if I don't show up.
Yeah.
And that means I have to show up as who I really am, and not as some alter ego, if you like,
Mhm.
um, a different person with the masks on and all the armor and the protective shields and everything else. That doesn't work, and that's part of the issue, that what we've been talking about here in
Yeah.
soul empowerment for this last year is about finding ways of bringing that soul to the fore, so that it is the thing we lead with rather than the thing we follow. Well, I guess we follow it if we're leading with it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I'm getting myself confused here. But the idea is, soul empowerment is about, ultimately, I think, uh, raising the awareness of who we really are to such a high level, and who we really are, not being this physical body or this name or this job or this
Yeah.
role, or all the things that we do, but rather the energy behind that, the creator of all those things. That's what I really am. And when I have that awareness of who I really am, then being in relationship is so much easier, because now I show up as that real being. And in the relationship, I then get to practice and express and see the reflection, how I'm showing up in that relationship, which then helps me to build that field of gratitude in which I live.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful way to look for somebody that's just getting started, or has that awareness of, I want to be more present and more thankful and grateful in my life, but life keeps throwing me curveballs or da da da. And what we've been sharing today, that take a step down into your own deep presence, the beauty that you are, even if you're uncomfortable or don't know how to get there, and start by seeking to show up in spite of maybe feeling uncomfortable in your own skin, or quote not liking conflict, or thinking that you can't speak up, it's going to oh, no way, not me. But really getting really comfortable in your own skin with who you are, that you can then get really comfortable in your relationships, that, like you said, you can practice, and that what we do for other, what we are comfortable with, then we give that gift of gratitude. It just continues to grow. We give our primary group the ability to also feel comfortable sharing, and not think that everything that, unless it's glowing and good, is going to spark hurt, or but there's words to use, like maybe think you coming up with your speech, your word choice, not saying why did you do that, or like what caused you to do that, or how did this feel. Like, that does show a lot level of care on your behalf, that's going to affect the person to show up with care on their behalf. So it's all just a furthering and pursuing. But yeah.
Well, and so don't forget what we've been talking about for this whole
Mhm.
year. I mean, we started with awareness, then
Yep.
we moved to acceptance, then we moved to this subject of identity, that is who we really are. Then we started talking about choice, and then compassion and forgiveness. We moved into purpose. We started looking at integrity, Then we had shadow, and then relationship and flow. Those 11 topics we talked about in the first 11 months of this year. And now what we do, we end up creating this field of gratitude as a result of having gone through all of those elements. And as long as we, as you said early on in today's show, it's not a one and done. This is a process. It's called growth for a reason. You know, you don't just, get to a level and stop. Well, you can, I suppose, if you want to, but most people aren't going to be satisfied with that. Once you understand that this growth can take you to ever higher levels of achievement, then growth becomes the journey. And that's really what we're aiming for. So growth means revisiting all of those 11 topics over and over and over, to the point that soon enough, when you get to a level, you're visiting all of them simultaneously. And that's really how we get to this place of what I call life mastery. So it's that's the journey that I am trying to follow, and it's a journey that I coach my clients in. And I hope that people who have been watching this program are getting that message.
It is a journey. It's one that's available to every one of us, which I didn't, again, when I started my journey, I just thought there was something wrong with me, that I somehow didn't fit in, or I always had to really go out of my way to show up. But it wasn't until little things began to trickle in, as you shared, that I was invited into my life, me stepping into myself, that opened the door to learning to the aspects and attributes of life mastery. And I love that we shared in our other show that it's not up to the environment or others or what has occurred in the world to make us who we are. It's about our ability, our desire to step into and do the work in and of and on ourselves every day.
Yeah.
That grows this beautiful fabric and energy of life mastery. And I'm constantly growing. So, but now I feel like you, perhaps, when something occurs and I feel the little bit of the ego or a myriad of emotions, because I have been working with all of these tools, I'm not stuck or stagnant and the door hasn't been shut. I just need to pause, take an open-minded reset, and then move into that. So that's the beauty of all of this, is when something occurs out of nowhere unexpectedly, we're not waylaid or stuck or stagnant. We get to pause and breathe, and then, oh, okay, carry on with what we've learned. And I think for me, I'm really grateful that of all the growth that has come my way this year from working, co-hosting with you, David.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. And the thing that I would like to leave people with before we sign off is, how can you, the question that I like to ask people is, how can you become someone who appreciates something about everything? How can you become someone who appreciates something about everything? Now, that means that you have to be able to look at things that you currently judge as bad or evil, or whatever word you choose to use to describe it. Is there something in that energy that is serving you, that is helping you somehow to grow and see who you really are?
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about something that's really, let's put the word ugly on it, ugly or nasty or mean, rather than simply going into a fear-based reaction and seeing this as an awful event, is there a way for you to look at it impartially and see that there's a reason why this is here? I somehow invited this into my life. So the question that I ask myself is, what am I trying to learn from this situation? What am I trying to get? What is it that I want to bring into my life as a result of this situation? Because if I can see that, then I may be able to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Which opens up the door to the imprinting or the fabric of gratitude.
Yep.
And I think in closing, okay, so if, the word gratitude, that's considered, the old way, oh, happy energy. You should be feeling really positive and happy and joyous and abundant. But the other area is as we do the work on ourselves and asking, okay, this situation occurred, maybe the pandemic. I broke my shoulder this year. We had an issue with our son. Okay, those weren't, quote, warm, fuzzy events. They've had major implications.
Right.
However, what is my reaction or response meant for me to obtain deeper growth, deeper learning? What is the learning or the educational or the knowledge or wisdom meant for me to learn, to take away from that? Rather than just looking at it at face value, it's like there's a much bigger arena going on here, that if I allow myself to put down my ego or that shield of, judgment or, whatnot, and just be impartial, some major learning and attributes can come down in me that's going to further my growth and allow me to further and support the growth in others. Yeah,
that's beautiful. I'd like to offer another little nugget of wisdom that came to me some time ago. It's just a little catchphrase, and I get these little bumper sticker catchphrases now and then that just kind of jolt me. But this one hit me particularly strongly, and it goes like this. It's very, very simple. Oh, how does it go now? Oh, that which appreciates grows in value. Now, I want you to think about that. I'm not saying that which is appreciated grows in value. I'm saying that which appreciates grows in value. Think about that, feel it, take it into your heart, and
which appreciate grows in value.
Yeah, try to grok it. Use that phrase that Robert Heinlein used in his book, what was it, A Stranger in a Strange Land? Grok, that was a great word, I loved it.
Wow.
It means to understand intuitively, I think. He didn't actually define the word, but he used it in enough context that that's what it came to mean for me. I love it. It's a great word. So take it in. That which appreciates grows in value, and enjoy it.
I like that. Well, this show has been I'm very grateful for our show today. I feel that we've unpacked a whole nother aspect of gratitude that really invites in authentic gratitude, that it's not just us putting on a happy face and saying a few pleasantries, but weaving it into the deeper fold of our human connections.
Yeah,
in
beautiful.
Sharing withholds and appreciations, that is what really grows the fabric in the energy of gratitude, in from which all else just can come out of. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nancy. It's been awesome. I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we will see you in the new year. And
we are grateful that you have been with us on this journey of soul empowerment. We'll look for you in the new year. Bye.